If you've been trying to figure out what to eat for breakfast that actually works for you, you're not alone because breakfast is honestly the meal that trips most people up when they're managing diabetes. A lot of the foods we've been eating our whole lives in the morning, things like toast with jam, cereal, orange juice, and muffins, are the exact foods that can cause problems. And when you start looking for alternatives, most of what you find online is either too complicated to bother with or so bland that you'd rather skip breakfast altogether. That's not what this video is about. What you're about to hear are 5 breakfasts that are genuinely easy to make, taste good enough that you'll actually look forward to eating them, and are built around one ingredient that happens to be one of the smartest choices you can make when you're watching what you eat. That ingredient is plain Greek yogurt, and it's the foundation of every recipe in this video. Now, before you think this is going to be 5 different ways to eat a cup of plain yogurt, give this a chance because each one of these breakfasts tastes completely different from the others, and a couple of them might genuinely surprise you. The reason plain Greek yogurt works so well is that it has roughly twice the protein of regular yogurt and a lot less sugar. That protein is what keeps you feeling full through the morning instead of getting hungry again an hour after you eat. The key is that it has to be plain, not vanilla, not strawberry, not any of the flavored ones that look healthy on the label but are loaded with added sugar. When you start with plain yogurt and add your own toppings, you control exactly what goes into your breakfast, and that makes all the difference. There's one more thing worth mentioning before we get into the recipes. You're going to notice that berries and nuts show up in several of these breakfasts, and that's not a coincidence. Berries, especially blueberries, strawberries, and raspberries, are some of the lowest sugar fruits you can eat, while also being packed with fiber, which helps your body process what you're eating at a nice, steady pace instead of all at once. Nuts like walnuts and almonds do something similar because the healthy fat and protein in them slow everything down even further. So if you pick up a container of plain Greek yogurt, a couple of pints of berries, and a bag of walnuts or almonds on your next grocery trip, you'll have everything you need for most of what's on this list. The first breakfast is the simplest one you'll hear today, and it takes about 2 minutes to put together. A Greek yogurt parfait with berries and nuts. You take a cup of plain Greek yogurt and spoon it into a bowl or a glass, whichever you prefer. Add a handful of fresh berries on top, whatever kind you like or whatever's on sale, and then scatter a small handful of walnuts or almonds over that. If you want it to look nice and you're using a glass, you can layer the yogurt, then berries, then more yogurt, then nuts, but that's purely for fun because it all tastes the same either way. That's the entire recipe. 3 ingredients. No cooking, no chopping, no measuring if you don't feel like it. The yogurt gives you protein, the berries give you natural sweetness and fiber, and the nuts give you a satisfying crunch along with healthy fat that helps keep you full. A lot of people try this once, expecting it to taste boring, and end up making it 3 or 4 times a week because it's so easy, and it actually keeps them going until lunch without thinking about food. The second breakfast is one that might sound unusual if you haven't tried it before, but it's become one of the most popular healthy breakfasts in the country for a very good reason. Yogurt and chia seed pudding. Chia seeds are tiny little seeds, about the size of a poppy seed that you can find in the baking aisle or the health food section of any grocery store. They don't taste like much on their own, but they do something remarkable when you mix them into liquid. They absorb several times their own weight in moisture and turn soft and slightly thick, almost like tapioca. That's what makes this pudding work. Here's how you make it. The night before, take a cup of plain Greek yogurt and stir in 2 tablespoons of chia seeds and a small splash of milk, just enough to loosen the mixture slightly. Give it a good stir, cover it, and put it in the refrigerator. By the time you wake up in the morning, the chia seeds will have absorbed the liquid, and the whole thing will have thickened into a creamy pudding that you can eat right out of the container. Top it with a few berries or a light sprinkle of cinnamon, and you have a breakfast that took you 3 minutes of work the night before and 0 minutes of work in the morning. Chia seeds are packed with fiber more than almost any other food by weight. And that fiber is the kind that digests very slowly, which means your body absorbs this breakfast gradually over the course of the morning. If you've never tried chia seed pudding before, this might be the most pleasant surprise on the entire list. The third breakfast follows a similar idea, where you do a few minutes of easy prep the night before and wake up to a meal that's already done. Yogurt overnight oats. You take half a cup of rolled oats, the regular kind you'd use for oatmeal, and put them in a jar or a bowl or any container with a lid. Add half a cup of plain Greek yogurt, half a cup of milk, and a tablespoon of chia seeds if you picked some up for the previous recipe. Stir it all together, put the lid on, and slide it into the fridge. Overnight, the oats absorb the yogurt and milk and soften into a thick, creamy texture that's almost like a cold version of oatmeal, but smoother and richer because of the yogurt. In the morning, pull it out, stir it, and top it with a handful of berries, a few sliced almonds, or a sprinkle of cinnamon. You can eat it cold right out of the fridge, or warm it up in the microwave for a minute if you prefer it hot. The beautiful thing about overnight oats is that oats contain a particular kind of fiber that your body breaks down very slowly, which means the energy from this breakfast releases gradually over hours, rather than all at once. Combined with the protein from the Greek yogurt and the healthy fat from the nuts, this is the kind of meal that genuinely carries you through a busy morning. It's also incredibly forgiving as a recipe because the amounts don't have to be exact. A little more yogurt, a little less milk, an extra sprinkle of oats, none of that will ruin anything. You'll find your own preferred consistency after making it once or twice, and from there it becomes something you can practically do in your sleep. The fourth breakfast is the fastest one on this list and the only one that uses a blender, though any blender will do, including the small, inexpensive ones. A yogurt smoothie with no added sugar. Put a cup of plain Greek yogurt into your blender, along with a small handful of frozen berries, a splash of milk, and if you have peanut butter or almond butter in the pantry, add a tablespoon of that too. Blend it for about 30 seconds until it's smooth and thick. Using frozen berries instead of fresh ones is what gives the smoothie that thick, cold, creamy texture without needing to add ice. And the berries provide all the sweetness the smoothie needs without any added sugar at all. If you use strawberries, you'll get a sweeter smoothie. If you use blueberries, it'll be a little more mellow. And if you mix different berries, you'll get something in between. The nut butter is optional, but it adds a richness and a depth of flavor that makes the smoothie taste more indulgent than it actually is, almost like a milkshake. This whole thing takes under 5 minutes from opening the freezer to drinking it, and it's a great option for mornings when you want something quick that you can take with you in a cup. You can even pour it into a travel mug and have your breakfast on the way out the door. The protein from the yogurt combined with the fat from the nut butter makes this surprisingly filling for something you can drink in a few minutes. The fifth and final breakfast tastes so good that it honestly feels more like a treat than a healthy meal. And it takes about 3 minutes to put together. Yogurt with cinnamon, nuts, and apple. Spoon a cup of plain Greek yogurt into a bowl. Take a small apple, any variety you like, dice it into small pieces, and scatter those over the yogurt. Sprinkle a generous pinch of cinnamon on top, and add a handful of chopped walnuts or almonds. Cinnamon does something wonderful here because it adds a warmth and a natural sweetness that makes the whole bowl taste almost like apple pie, filling without a single grain of sugar added to it. The apple pieces give you crunch and natural sweetness, the nuts give you that satisfying bite, and the yogurt holds it all together with protein and creaminess. If you eat this one on a cool morning, it feels like comfort food in the best possible way. Every breakfast you hear about today can be made with ingredients from one simple grocery trip, and none of them takes longer than a few minutes to prepare. 2 of them are made the night before, so your morning is completely free. 2 of them come together in 2 or 3 minutes, standing at your kitchen counter, and one of them is ready in the time it takes to press a button on your blender. They all taste different enough that you could rotate through them during the week and never feel like you're eating the same thing twice. And every single one of them is built around real whole ingredients that are naturally good choices for anyone who's paying attention to what they eat and how it makes them feel. That's not medical advice, that's just good food made simply, which is really all any breakfast needs to be.